Hi, I'm David Fox, and I have to tell you that I am really happy that you've decided to watch this video because I have a chance in these next few moments to give you something of lasting value. A few golden nuggets to make an impact in your life to pay forward all that's been given to me. It's challenging because I'm going to try to give you some real support before your attention wanders and you go off to the next page. It's also a challenge because real value comes from the consistent application of principles to the entire life, not just listening to a short video, right? That's why when I coach people, I introduce them to a process of immersion where, just like learning a language, you get into it, begin to apply specific practices to the entire life so often that it becomes real. I'm not here to motivate you. I hope you don't need that because a lot of times that's what people think a coach is for motivation. Granted, many coaches fill that need, but that's not what I do. I work with people who are already highly motivated to get results in their life. But I want to know where your motivation comes from. I want to know what drives you, because then I'll know how to help you get to the next level and unblock anything that might be momentarily stopping you from getting there. What's your motive for action? What is it that drives you in your life today? Or are you running on unconscious patterns? Because I believe there is an internal force that drives our actions. Call it freedom, call it intention, call it emotion or passion. But when it gets activated, it's the most powerful force in the world. There are a lot of names for this force in the wisdom traditions. We call it energy or Shakti. We call it mindset. We call it faith. So I'm not here to tell you how to think, because we all know how to think and we all take action according to our own self-interest, right? Not right. Ironically, sometimes our efforts are diametrically opposed to our self-interest and self-sabotage. When the passion invoked by this recognition of freedom comes into play, the wiring suddenly changes. We're able to intentionally explore our purpose and reason for being. We begin to develop a deep sense of gratitude for life itself, and our understanding of the human condition in general deepens. We're able to serve more, not only ourselves according to our own personal visions of joy, but the community too, creating connections that hopefully make the world just a little bit better for the next generation. Now, for over 30 years, I've been deeply invested in answering one question: what is the meaning in life? What makes it worth living, and how does a person master life to achieve lasting fulfillment? And the overwhelming conclusion that I've come to is that in every case it comes back to personal purpose, the freedom to live that purpose, and the skills involved in bringing myself to peak performance that I might explore and express that purpose. In my case, self-mastery became an obsession that led me around the world, to the Orient, Middle East, up the Himalayas to discover the ancient arts and sciences of self, yoga, Tantra, Qabalah, Ayurveda, all the mystic arts that make you go ah. And I took what I was taught and molded it into tools that I could share with others as deeply interested as I am in realizing my full potential as a human being. I created these tools because of an understanding that we all share some basic human needs. But when you're looking at the science of achievement, a lot of times you have to be ready to make a big change, to really put yourself out there and go beyond the current story you may be writing for yourself. How is that essential core of freedom going to find expression? How do we take an intention and mold it into a concrete pattern of actions that's going to allow the dream to manifest as a reality, whether we're talking about wealth or health or relationships or contributions to the well-being of the planet? How do we make it real? One answer is fulfillment. And interestingly, personal fulfillment often seems to grow in direct proportion to appreciation and contribution, because there's only so much you can feel by yourself, right? And on the way to this personal fulfillment, there's one question that we really need to ask ourselves, and that is, what shapes us? Because sometimes you can grow up in an environment of love and encouragement and great education and still turn around and do nothing worthwhile with your life. While on the other hand, there are people who have literally walked through the hells of physical, psychological, and spiritual abuse and come back from all of that to become some of the greatest contributors to society. You see, there's this dominant mindset that we are our past. Most people think that the story they've already written is how the destiny is meant to play out. Past equals future. And it does, if you live in the past. But what we have to recognize and keep reminding ourselves of, because you can know something and not apply the knowledge, right? We have to remind ourselves that our ultimate freedom and empowerment lies in our ability to make choices and decisions. Have you ever failed to achieve something significant in your life? I know I have. And if you're like most people, then you probably chalk up that failure to not having had enough of something, enough time, enough money, enough encouragement or emotional support, enough knowledge. But the hard truth is that it wasn't the lack of resources that kept us from achieving the goal. It was our own lack of resourcefulness. It was the lack of that drive, that passion or emotion to get you to the finish line. If we tap into the right emotion for the moment, we can get ourselves to do anything. If we don't have enough money, but we're creative or determined enough, we'll find a way. If we don't have all the answers to child raising, but communication and guidance are the choice, the decision, and being playful enough might be the emotion that gets us over that line. Emotions are one of the 3 primary resources in our toolkits. Another one is focus. You have to decide what you're going to focus on right now, in this moment, because that decision is going to determine your destiny. When you make the decision to focus on something, you immediately give that focus your attention. You give it meaning, and that meaning starts to produce an emotion, right? You decide whether this is the beginning or the end, whether God's punishing you, testing you, or shining her grace on you. And then that emotion is going to lead us to our 3rd resource, the power to take action. I'm not telling you anything new. Psychology is only shining a scientific light on what the ancients have said forever, that God created the entire universe through an act of knowledge, will, and volition, based in love and desire to be. So think about some of the decisions that have shaped your own destiny in the last 5, 10, or 15 years. Have there been some decisions you've made that if you'd made a different decision, your life would be completely different? Whether it was in your career or your love relationships? The bottom line is, the history of the entire world is created with these decisions. A woman stands up and says, "No, I won't go to the back of the bus." She didn't just affect her life, that decision shaped American culture. How about Lance Armstrong, professional cyclist, diagnosed with testicular cancer? Pretty rough for any guy to hear. Now how about if you ride a bike? What did he decide to focus on? Different than most people. What did it mean to him? Was it the end, or was it the beginning? That guy went on to win 7 championships. He'd never won even once before the cancer, but because he got emotional fitness, psychological strength, he found the steel, the iron will that led him to take massive action needed to achieve his goal. What shapes you? 2 invisible forces. One is your state of mind, the other is your model of the world, your blueprint, the story you tell yourself. That's your filter. That's what's shaping you. It's what you base your decisions on. When we want to influence somebody, we've got to know what already influences them, and that's made up of 3 things. First, your goal. What do you want? That's only part of it, because how many times have you gotten something that you want, achieved a goal or desire, only to find yourself still unfulfilled? Human development specialists like psychologists, neuroscientists, performance coaches, we understand that there are certain human needs that drive all of us and underpin these desires. Second, once you uncover the truth of the need that's driving the desire, then you look at your map, the blueprint of your belief system that's telling you how to fulfill those needs. Some people think they gotta destroy the world to fulfill those needs. Others build something, create something, or love someone. And finally, there's the fuel you use to drive you home. So before you leave here today, I want to give you just a little more clarity on some of the basic human needs we all share, so that whether I meet you at the end of this or not, you can run your own self-check to see what is and what's not being met. And of course, these needs begin with the physiological, food and shelter, safety and security. But then we start moving up the hierarchy into self-esteem and self-actualization territory, and these needs start to get a little more refined. For instance, there's the need for certainty. We look for certain avenues that enable us to avoid pain, attain pleasure, and we make supreme efforts at achieving this certainty by any means possible. Enter personal control dramas. For instance, if we're not certain that the floor is going to support us, we're either going to remove ourselves from where we are, or we're going to make certain that we make the effort to fix that floor. But the certainty of its support is something that I won't live without. I need to be certain that I have your attention, that I'm being respected, valued, and I'll either try to control you and take what I'm needing by force, or figure out how to mold myself into something that you value. An indirect control drama, true, but this one's more self-focused. And yet, while we have this definite need for certainty, what would happen if we were certain all the time? We'd be bored out of our minds. So even while it's said that God loves a routine, we need variety too, right? The spice of life. Sure, we need an element of uncertainty, fun, excitement, a bit of surprise. We're also moved by a deep and penetrating need for significance, to feel important or held in esteem by others. Perhaps the ideal here is the healthy sense of self-esteem, my regard for my own self. The question then gets back to my storyline, my worldview. What am I self-identifying with? Is it money that gives me my self-worth? Spirituality? How I look? Or does my significance depend on how much value I add to the community or to my family? People will go to great lengths to achieve the fulfillment of their need for significance, even unto violence. People will risk their own lives to satisfy the need for excitement and uncertainty. As well, they might throw away an entire lifetime of dreams to satisfy the need for certainty. But the abiding need for love, connection, there's a driver. We all want it. Even though opening up ourselves to the experience of love is sometimes the scariest thing in the world, enter self-preservation. We don't want to get hurt, so we throw up all kinds of defenses and walls, preempting attack. Here, uncertainty gets in the way, and we've lost touch with that invisible driver called faith. A different emotion is driving us, and it behooves us to know ourselves to the extent that we can identify exactly what's driving us, our motivation, our deepest held reasons for what we do. We need love and connection, and we fulfill this need through friendship, intimacy, communion with the divine, with nature. We love our pets almost as much as we love our children, right? If you don't think you need love or can love, just let a pet show you how wrong you are. Every one of us finds a way to meet these basic human needs, consciously or unconsciously. And yet rarely will you be completely fulfilled unless you begin to grow. If you're not growing, what are you doing? Stagnating. If your business isn't growing, what's it doing? Sure, maintaining the status quo is an option, but does that usually satisfy you? If your relationship is not growing, not maturing, at some point it's going to fall behind the times because time moves forward. Let's put aside for a moment the theory that time doesn't exist at all. For all intents and purposes, it really does. And deep down, we have a need to move forward with it, to evolve. And one of the reasons we evolve, I believe, is so that we can serve the next generation, so that we can give. Because the sixth need that I'm going to leave you to contemplate is the need to contribute beyond ourselves. We've heard it so often that it's almost a cliche. The secret to living is giving, in gratitude, in paying forward what we've received. We all know life's not about me, it's about we. Even the neuroscience proves this out. The highest resonating brainwave frequencies are the gamma wave patterns, right? It's no coincidence that the most effective way to activate that frequency is for you to engage in altruistic action, giving. And you know this, that's why you're still listening. Maybe you want to heal yourself and your relationships. Maybe you're looking for that next step on the way to self-mastery, but deep down you know the mission is going to involve giving back, heart-activated service. Look, I come from a hard background, broken home, abuse, life on the streets. I've known my share of drama, but I always retained that core faith in my innocence and freedom, and my life was touched really early when I somehow magically aligned with the power of intention and decision and was able to lift myself out of the drama and go forward to create a destiny according to my own vision. I made choices and decisions that would see my dreams turn to realities. I made the decision to take myself out into the world and find the answers to the great existential questions that drove me. I made the decision to apply myself to paths of practice so that I could develop myself in the same way that I'd read of the mystics doing. But the real turning point in my life would be when I was 25 years old. It was my first time in India, and I got to see directly how the saints were serving the community. I sat with Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, I watched, listened. But when I reached the Himalayas, it was a kindly old ascetic yogi who would take me under his wing and initiate me not only into the ways of Shaivite Tantra and yoga, but into the mysteries of life, so profound in their simplicity that I look back now in awe that I should have ever forgotten myself in the first place. And that's what the path is really all about coming back to a recognition of my own essential nature. And once that was established, I made another decision. With the deepest sense of gratitude for the teachings and kindness that old yogi showed me, and really just an awesome gratitude to be alive, I decided to share, to give back, to leave a legacy through my work for my children and my community, that the next generation might thrive, know themselves, fulfill themselves. And so this simple insight into the human condition and these few breadcrumbs for you to follow in exploration of yourself is my gift to you. And if you'd like to explore more with me and learn what coaching partnership looks like, or if you'd like to learn more about the classical wisdom traditions, and if you feel ready to apply that wisdom to your own growth because you've been burning to develop or burning to serve and just haven't really known how to get started, this is my invitation to you. Transformation can happen. Make a decision right now. Make a decision to explore your web. The web in here. The needs, the beliefs, the emotions that drive you or control you. Do this for yourself, but also do this so that you can serve others. And together, you really can change the world a little at a time. I invite you to make a choice right now to take the first step or the next step in the conscious creation of your destiny. I'll love to meet you. Keep the faith. Blessings upon blessings to you, your loved ones, and everyone else around you wherever you are.